Hey, it's movies we're talking about. I am John Carlos, and I am joined today by insert whatever
Ah!
adjective about
Eddie!
Eddie.
I didn't know what my cue was.
I was gonna, the whatever.
Dear God.
Oh, good Lord. So, we're here to talk about, and for me to sing for the last time,
Jesus.
the oldest and the wittiest and the gossip in New York City is Insidious, The Last Key.
Great.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Which I haven't, I both do this discussion of Insidious 3 and Insidious 4. I took the wrappers off these. I bought them like when they came out. Haven't rewatched them. I rewatched 1 and 2 a few times, several times. But and also, I don't know about you, but I thought Insidious The Last Key came out like so long ago.
I know, me too.
2018. That was like nothing ago.
I know, 4 years.
Feels like it's been ages.
It has.
And then I realized like what happened,
Yeah.
At the end of 2019, leading into 2020, and I went, oh, well, that's where all the taffy pulling went. Because fuck, yeah, it felt like I saw this movie a million years ago.
Yeah, it same. I echo your sentiments.
And I don't remember exactly, and I'm actually going to pull it up now, but I feel like the Insidious movies came out like every 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
And at first I thought when they announced that they were doing Insidious 5, I was like, oh, so it's been a while. We're getting a little nostalgic for it. And then I realized, no, it's been 4 years since the last one. They're pretty much right on track.
Pretty much.
Yeah. 2010, 2013, 2015, 2018. So
wow.
3 years, 2 years, 3 years, and now 4 years.
Feels like a lifetime.
Doesn't it?
These past 10 years, especially,
also, that little Dalton boy, he's all grown up,
Yeah. I didn't even recognize him the first time in Endgame when he's just standing there, and I was just kind of like, is that? And then, yeah.
I didn't even recognize him. I turned to Tracy and I went, who the fuck is this kid? I don't know. And the second the credits rolled, I pulled out my phone and I typed in Avengers Endgame. Who is that? Everyone's like, who's the kid at the funeral? I'm like, thank you.
It would have helped if he could have gotten canceled before the movie got released or something, just to put his face back out there, Sure,
yeah, not to wish that on him.
No, not at all.
But if maybe he'd itched his sleeve and I saw a little Dora the Explorer watch or something,
Or maybe if he just, I don't know, there's the long hair too. Like, he had like long locks, like a mane, and maybe if they cut it in like kind of like a bowl cut.
Yeah,
like the Lawrence brothers.
But again, Eddie, are you wishing either this guy to be canceled or for this guy to have to wear a bowl cut? Because
help me out, Marvel. Jesus.
I know, but that kid doesn't want to look like Anton Chigurh. That's not fun for him.
I have no idea who that is.
Well, thank you for laughing like you know what I'm talking about.
It's what I do.
It's anyway. Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men.
Oh, okay. I still haven't seen that movie. I got to watch it. It's on the to-do list. I know. It was during that whole period of like the first 10 years of the millennium where like everything seemed so dour and so oppressive, and here for your consideration, I'm gonna assault your senses. Anyway, we've really gotten off on the wrong foot here.
Yeah. So Insidious The Last Key.
The Last Key.
Let me start off by saying because it's a mixed bag for me, but there are plenty of high points in this, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I'm using the word plenty here. Fuck you.
No.
First off, I think it's a good looking picture. That whole opening scene. I mean, I can't tell you who the DP was, but Homeboy knows what he's doing. It's a good looking movie. It's nice use of colors, especially yellows and greens. It just I couldn't help but think while I was watching it that like the first Insidious movie had a very distinct look.
Yeah.
For its own thing, and then 2 felt like overlit digital clarity and I didn't care for it, and 3 was fine, but this one it doesn't look like the other Insidious movies, and it sure shit doesn't fucking sound like the other Insidious movies, but it still works as a horror picture. It kept me engaged visually in a way that maybe 2 and 3 didn't.
Okay.
It gave me mood. It gave me atmosphere. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
In a weird way, it was almost visually, yeah, it was almost like too moody to almost be an Insidious. If it weren't for the cast, I would never look at this and go, "Oh, it's an Insidious movie." The way the Dalton's house or houses in that first movie
Mhm.
looked.
Yeah. Also, like right off the bat, even before we see anything, the fact that the score, I looked it up, I was like, who did the score? And it was still Joseph Bishara.
But it's
But
not playing the same.
no, not at all. Like because also with the score, if you think about the second one, it largely seems to kind of like mirror and maybe even, yeah, but maybe even embellish on the
Mhm.
first one. It's a little less precise and a little bit more yeah,
A little
exactly,
dialed up.
like
Yeah.
yeah. And then the third one is very much its own thing, but like the film, at times a little directionless for my taste, or maybe a little generic. And that's just how I felt. But with this one, it felt so specific because it had a sorrow to it. It seemed to kind of like I don't know, cushion me and my mind for like what I was about to see, to almost appeal to my empathy and my compassion even more so than the first one did. The first one, even though as we discussed in that pod, I felt a great deal of empathy and compassion for that family right off from the get-go, especially with their authenticity and their daily practice and feeling included in that. This one, it was more I think it's because it's about memories, because it's not happening so much in real time. It's about Elise being haunted by her past and going back and confronting it, and some of the things that she even witnesses when she goes back, you're left to wonder, like, or not even wonder, because sometimes for sure, like, okay, well, that's not a ghost, that's your fucking memory. You're just
Mhm.
getting triggered in this house and not a home. But so I mean, so right off the bat, like I was just, that's why I looked up immediately, like, who did the score, and I was so glad that Joseph Bishara stretched it and pulled it in another direction that seemed to be equally specific
Yeah. I'm
and
not
suit the movie really
complaining
well.
that it
Okay.
sounds different, but I am observing it does not sound. There is no like fucking rusty fucking saw blade smashed into an out-of-tune
No.
piano. Like
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But what this thing does, I also do appreciate that it doesn't fall into a rut of letting an Insidious formula sort of inform, like, okay, here's the same. It still hits certain beats, but visually and sonically, it doesn't fall into a rut.
I agree. And I remember. Oh, you want to say your thought?
And
Finish
yeah,
your
can I
thought.
just say, just blatantly up front, while the first movie is like, let's say for example, Texas Chainsaw is great, but it's not a great franchise.
No.
Um, and certain other movies are maybe great but don't have great franchises. This is one of the rare ones where you have a first great movie, and
Mm.
I like 2 and 3 and 4. Like
Mhm.
there's not a single like fucking stinker in this franchise. I don't think the
Oh.
franchise it soars, but it also doesn't ever just fucking smash into the ground. Like it's a pretty decent series of movies, and I can't say that about a lot of franchises. Even like Freddy
Uh-huh.
has a couple stinkers. You know,
I'd be really anxious to know from someone who was born like maybe in the year 2000 or after and experienced maybe these as some of their first horror movies, if they kind of feel about this franchise the way I do about, say, the Poltergeist franchise, where great first movie and the sequels are what they are. And but because they seem to be made with love, and because they're both so distinct, like they occupy a very, very special place in my heart. Or even like you brought up with like Nightmare on Elm Street, like the worst of that original run of movies, which I believe is Freddy's Dead. Not we're not counting the reboot, obviously, but the worst of that one, I would still probably watch over the worst from most other franchises, I
yeah, me too.
think. Yeah. But I don't know if that's just well, it's been in my life so long, like, I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
what that is. So I wonder if people would look at Insidious 2 and 3 in particular and be just kind of like, oh, but they're Insidious movies and I was so scared when I was a kid, and my way in was through Dalton's eyes or through Josh's eyes or through Quinn's eyes, or like whatever. I wonder. I'd be really, really curious to hear.
Like me and Leprechaun, where I'm like, Eddie, I saw it when I was 12 and I had the best time.
And some things don't like grow with you.
Yes.
Some you do outgrow some things, and then some things you just didn't like the first time, and that's Leprechaun for me. But but with this movie, one of the things that struck me also was Adam Robitel was the director, has only directed 2 other features that I could identify. One I have not seen, Taking of Deborah Logan. Have you seen that movie?
No, but I always meant to.
Me too.
It's been on the back burner for like a million years.
I remember it was one of those titles back when I got the Netflix mailers, and it was one of those titles that always got pushed down because there was always something, at least 5 things I wanted to see more than that one. But so the Taking of Deborah Logan and Escape Room I have yet to see. Have you seen that one?
No.
Okay. It was a January release.
I intend to keep it that way.
Yeah, wasn't it a January release, which is usually
so.
kind of like a death knell for most horror movies?
For most, but there's a handful that, I mean,
yeah,
Scream.
yes, this year. But so maybe things are changing. But he also co-wrote. He was one of like the 4 or 5 writers who co-wrote Ghost Dimension, Paranormal Activity, Ghost Dimension, and it made me think, okay, well then this is a good movie for him, based on like the fact that I've been dragging my feet to see the features I haven't seen, and the fact that you and I have both seen Ghost Dimension, and we both make the same face in response to it. But at the same time, there was one moment when they were like even like navigating through the house, and Tucker has all that equipment on Elise, and we're watching it largely through like the camera lens, her POV, and it's all just kind of like desaturated, except it's a wash and just maybe kind of like a bluish greenish hue, which felt very Paranormal Activity to me. And I'm maybe the fact that it was also situationally driven. There weren't a lot of, how can I put this? A lot of scare sequences per se. There were foreboding sequences. There were sequences that were certainly unpleasant and undesirable. Like I'd never want to be in that situation. And it made me go, oh no, but it didn't. I'm going to sleep fine tonight. Like, yes. It's not like you could say anything from this movie and I wouldn't be like, Giancarlo, don't say that. I have to go to bed at the end of this podcast. I think that
I'm going to put a key in your neck. Ooh.
And again, that's the thing about this movie. And I think that was part of like kind of like the rhetoric that surrounded it around its release. I remember a lot of people saying, not scary, but a good movie. Ultimately, like a good movie. And I feel like that is still true. I've only seen it twice now. I saw it the once and I saw it this time. And like, because even the key locking off your Scream, and then the other, I think it's another finger that has the little blade, right? It's not the same thing, right? Yeah, that starts to like give you your trach or whatever. And it's not like great horror fare as far as like things that stay with you and that you can develop a phobia around, at least not for me. But it is, I think, interesting. Like I remember thinking, oh, that's not good. Like that's unfortunate. It can lock off your Scream. Ooh, I mean, it felt more like reading, again, maybe kind of like a grim fairy tale, a little bit more adult, but like, the kind of monster you'd read, or the kind of creature, the kind of heavy you would read about in like a fairy tale, or the spooky fairy tale, like or an old fable where it locks away your Scream.
And speaking of old fable, I wonder how this movie would play to like someone younger.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, there's another world and there's a creature that can take my voice. Like that would probably bother me as an 8-year-old, but I watch it now and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a guy.
Yeah, I wonder.
He looks cool, whatever.
Yeah, the and again, like as is the case with every one of these, I mean, the first one has so much going for it, but one of the biggest boons is the introduction of Elise and Lin Shaye. Dear God, shows up.
And not only does she show up, but I mean, the third movie was already like, hey, look, she's in it more, but you're still sharing half of the movie with Quinn and half of the movie with her. But this is
Yeah,
like the Elise show.
yeah.
The mystery is tied to her. It's her house. It's her story. It's even the villain. It's all tied to her baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And bravo
And
for going there.
yeah, and also kind of like familiar territory for the franchise. I didn't really articulate this to myself until this very moment, but here a large part of it is about Elise's tie to her mother. And in the previous movie, we had Quinn's tie to her mother from the Beyond. And I don't know. And then I think like the dynamic between Barbara Hershey and Lorraine, between Lorraine and Josh, and even with Renee in the first movie and in the second movie. And oh my goodness. And then I'm thinking about like, don't you dare, kind of like
Yep.
the antithesis of what motherhood is supposed to be. Like, Leigh Whannell, I want to hear him talk about his mother now. You know, like,
Tell me about your mother.
yeah, I want to get very Freudian with, well, maybe I don't after this movie, but I mean, we're gonna have to talk about that right
Well,
away.
I'm glad you brought it up. I wrote down two notes that
Yeah.
it didn't hit me until the fourth movie that I realized there are two themes or elements that surprisingly are what define Insidious for me. One is that each movie is about, in some way, family and like the ghost effect, but it's always about how it's impacting this family,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, Renee's family or Quinn and her dad and their
Mm.
apartment, or if it's about Elise's family in the past and her search for having a family now. I went, oh, it always is like the supernatural impeding on the family.
Yeah.
As a franchise, it's a neat take. And then also, it just sort of clicked with me since this one was about trauma. And then I started thinking about each movie, and I wrote them down. I went, well, okay, so the first movie, you're dealing with Josh and like repressing all of his like bad memories when he was like a kid,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
in repressing his powers. Second movie, you have no one in the main cast, but the villain is like haunted by like this violent trauma of his mother,
Mm-hmm.
or the violent trauma he experienced at the hands of his mother. Third movie, we're grieving over a death. Like each movie, there is some past trauma that the characters are like holding on to in some way,
Yeah.
um, which is so much more interesting. I mean, it's not a fucking contest, but you could be R-rated and have like, I don't know, what about a bunch of teenagers who go somewhere and get killed?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they're like, no, let's have characters always have to fucking heal over something, or at least dealing with, I don't know. It's an interesting path to go down,
It is. And
especially for PG-13, because you'd think,
yeah,
just from a studio standpoint, to me, the PG-13 is never a gimmick to try to get more butts in the seats, so much as we're
no,
just not telling that
that
kind of
story.
story.
Yeah, yeah. I agree entirely. And actually, I didn't realize it was PG-13 until I streamed it off Tubi. Thanks for the heads up. But I just muted the commercials. But but and there weren't that many. But while you replay it, or while it kicks back in after the commercial, it has the rating all over again there, just to kind of remind you, I guess, or remind the parents maybe, like what the kid's watching. And while I was watching it, I was just kind of like, I think it was about halfway through when I finally noticed the rating and thought, oh, PG-13.
I think they all are.
Are they?
I think
Wow.
so. I definitely know 3 is. I mean, I think the franchise is pretty bloodless.
Wow.
You're never seeing anyone, bone or anything.
Yeah.
There's not too heavy thematic material.
Wow. Crazy.
I think this whole franchise is PG-13.
That is insane. To me, I don't know, because like I would still consider the first movie like probably one of the most bone-chilling experiences for me whenever I revisit it, and I'm very careful about when I do. Like, I have to want to be scared and know that I have time to be scared afterwards. But so I don't know, that's kind of remarkable.
Yep, they're all PG-13.
Yeah, I would never. Wow, I would never I mean, I don't think I ever thought about rating, considered it as far as like, a factor of whether I'm going to visit a movie or not. But now I'm definitely not going to, because I'll just be like, the first Insidious is PG-13. So if anybody tries to pull some shit with me, like, it's PG-13, I'm like, watch the first Insidious, motherfucker. But but what's interesting is like with this one, even though it's not scary, like horror scary, I'd say, everything that happens in it is palpable. I mean, as far as like, anyway, what relates to Elise, certainly, and like everything she absorbs as a child and as a teenager, and the fact like it's not grueling, even though, or grating like the way it could be. The kind of themes of like leaving home and an abusive father and stuff like that. And even then, like when I completely forgot about everything with what is it, Garza, is that his name? Yeah, with the discovery of what Garza's really got going on in the basement. I completely forgot about that. I completely forgot that she was alive, that we thought it was a ghost, and that it was all the time she was communicating on the other side of that wall, and the woman's like blowing a whistle. It's a real woman. And
see, I thought it was a ghost blowing the whistle to help a real woman.
But she had a whistle.
Right.
I thought,
but it's in the middle of the room and she's hanging out in the corner.
But it's not like she couldn't reach, or could she not?
I know, but
like
she's talking to a ghost and she's asking like, is there an evil spirit here that like wants to harm that guy? Yes. Are you that spirit? No.
I thought it was the woman. And in retrospect, I thought it was the woman talking about him, because he's obviously driven by something.
Is there something back here you want me to see? And it's like, yes, there's this fucking live girl here.
Okay. Okay. Well, that makes sense. That's okay.
And it goes back to like help her. Like it's the ghost.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, she'd still have the whistle with her when she's over by the wall, but it's in the middle of that floor.
I don't know though. I mean, okay, the whole whistle thing though, actually, I take issue with. It's one of the only, and I do have some other things, but it's one of the only issues I take with the movie, because I lose track of the whistle at a certain point, because Elise goes back to the house, finds it underneath the bed, and she puts it on. Christian's whistle. She puts it around her neck and tucks it even like under her shirt, and she goes, safe now. And I love that moment. I'm like, oh, cool. So she's gonna have the whistle, and it'll figure in significantly at some point. It was like watching the movie for the first time again. There were only like a handful of things I remembered. And then the next time we see the whistle, might be, I didn't really keep track of it, but I couldn't, because I was just like, what is the whistle doing on the other? Okay, so did it take it from Elise, and that's why when she needs it, she reaches for it and it's not there? I can't. It's all starting to like kind of like, the whole chronology is messed up in my head, because I could never track who has the whistle and why.
Ghost magic.
Okay.
I didn't put too much thought into the whistle. I'm sorry.
I don't think the filmmakers did either.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was a victim of editing in post.
Maybe.
Because I mean, I remember specifically the trailers for this showed the further jail cells, and when you saw all these other like creatures, and they looked, like, oh, what are those? And you go see the movie, and you don't see any of them, and I'm like, well, there's clearly stuff that was shot for this movie that is not in the fucking movie.
I forgot about.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's some weird continuity stuff due to like, hey, we got to get this down to an hour 45, people, and they're like, oh.
Damn.
Well, now Eddie's gonna be confused about why the whistle's over here now.
Yeah, right. And they're like, screw Eddie. He's his butt's in the seat already. He's gonna buy a ticket. Eddie's not gonna not see an Insidious movie, so let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, all right, Chief, whatever you say, boss.
Well, and I guess their thinking worked, because I watched it and didn't give a fuck about why the whistle's over there now.
I can't say I didn't give a fuck. Stuff like that bothers me, because I'm just kind of like, wait, but the whistle.
I understand, because little things can bother me too.
Yeah. But there were so many other things that worked. But that was one of the things that bugged me. But like right off the bat, I love finding out that Elise had a good mom with Audrey, played by Tessa Ferrer is her name. I love that she believes.
Sits her down, says, I believe you.
Yes. And I love that she's the one who gives Christian the whistle. And I don't know, it just seems kind of like caught in the crossfires, like knowing that. It makes me wonder though, like, because her mother seemed to have a similar knowledge, but now I'm starting to pick it apart because I'm starting to wonder, okay, like, it seems like her mother had a similar kind of ability to her, which is why she can kind of like roam around maybe in the further and come when she hears the whistle or anything like that. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe she's just a spirit who's like driven by this promise she made, to her little boy a night a long time ago when she was alive. And if she still hears it, she's going to come running and protect her child. I don't know. But I was under the impression that what she said to Elise came from a place of, I've had to hide it because your father can't handle it. So you just have to hide that right now. It's a beautiful thing. It's a great part of you, but your father just can't deal with it. So just don't include him in it and you'll be fine, kind of thing, I guess.
And that's a polite way of putting it, because like his way of not dealing with it is beating you and throwing you into a basement and locking you in.
Jesus Christ.
Right.
And he always seemed inebriated. And I love that, in a way, I love that he kind of gets, I wouldn't say a pass, but I mean, he almost gets what's the word I'm looking for? Like exonerated, like, because something else is in the driver's seat. Like, obviously, like his soul or his spirit is trapped also, I guess, in one of those cells, while the demon is, I guess, mostly, but kind of like the old man in Insidious 3. We talked about not really understanding how fractured Quinn was, and you brought up like, well, what if it's only half of her and the other half is like the old man, and it's just a matter of time before he completely like consumes her. So probably something similar going on with the key demon, who I guess is what I'll call him from now on. And
right, because
and the dad.
Because if you're in that house and you're a male, chances are
Yeah.
you're being influenced / controlled, manipulated by.
Yeah.
I call them key fingers. It's funny because in the credits it said, and so and so is key face, and I went, key face. But why isn't it key fingers? He's got key fingers.
Key finger.
It's not even. It doesn't even look like, if anything, it'd be keyhole face, but it's just what? But anyway, yes, he was not in his right mind.
Knife keys. I don't know. Yeah, I like key fingers. Key fingers. I like it.
I've said that ever since I saw the first trailer. I went, it's the villain's a key fingers thing. Okay.
But it was interesting because even then I thought like he was just a man who was haunted by his line of work, like the fact that he worked at the state pen and knew that people were, the way he kind of shuddered when she could sense what was going on during the execution and all that. It all kind of made sense to me from a visual storytelling standpoint. Yeah. And then when this other element got introduced, once we figured out that Garza was doing it, and God bless Elise for naturally just kind of assuming that it wasn't just Garza being a horrible person when they found that woman down there, but that it was actually the spirit, the demon, who must have like overpowered him, because I was like, that's a reach, Elise. But you're the one with like the second sight, so I hope you're right. Because I would never just assume. I don't see the best in people all the time, particularly men. But it's excuse me. But that was another thing I completely forgot, was just, and it had me like in the palm of its hand, this movie, was when she goes into, I don't know even what you call it, but just like that round kind of pipe or whatever. That
my God, that was a very effective sequence.
Dear God. I mean, first of all, just because she discovers the one suitcase, opens it up and finds all of the belongings, and that's heartbreaking enough.
Yeah.
And then she finds her skull, Anna's skull.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And she picks it up with her hands, which I wouldn't fucking do.
But Elise is a fucking superhero, and she apologizes, and she atones, and like it's just like, I'm so sorry, Anna, I failed you. And I'm like, oh, stop thinking you failed everyone, Elise. And then she closes it, and that's when she fucking goes deeper and sees off, what, like to the left or whatever,
yep,
the stack of suitcases, and I went, and she started opening them, which is something I would not have done,
Well,
because in my mind she's gonna end up finding endless suitcase after suitcase after, and I would have been scared. I would have been too scared. I would not have been able to do that.
I would open. Here's what I would do, Eddie, and I said this aloud when I was watching the movie. When she found the first suitcase, which is, we'll take it out of the tunnel and go open it in the room with Tucker. Don't stay in that little tunnel and open it. And she did. And then she found more, and I'm like, okay, take them all, go outside, open them in the daylight. Nice lighting outside. You got sunshine on your face.
But no, we both know that daylight doesn't make everything go away.
It makes me feel better than being in a fucking sewer tunnel.
No. I may as well just be in the dark, because then it's just like, yeah.
All the fake outs worked, because every time it opened one, I was expecting it to come out and go, eh. And every time she moved one down, I was expecting him to be,
yeah.
And they kept taking me out. And it was like, even though it's 4 years later, but I mean, it made me think of in Scream when Wes opens the door to his bedroom, and then Wes opens.
I was just
fridge.
gonna say,
The scene just goes on for 5 minutes of nothing.
I would arguably say, for me personally, in The Last Key, it held the tension for me. I didn't feel like they were playing with me to like make me laugh or.
And Scream, I was chuckling.
Yeah, I was
too. The Last Key, I was on edge.
Yes.
The whole movie doesn't have me on edge, but there are moments, and this has got to be the longest sustained moment.
Yeah.
Where it actually succeeds at "quote unquote" being a horror movie, where I'm like, oh God, it's gonna fucking.
I know. And then, because
then you're gonna open another one, and I have to go on the fucking roller coaster all over again.
And that was the worst part, because the actual reveal, shockingly enough, was not like that bad for me. That was another. It's not a complaint, but it was just like, kind of, once we see the face of the demon, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's straggly and dark, and and
I'll say this.
And I mean,
from the neck down, I love the shape of his body, posture, the fact that he had like little Spider-Man webbing underneath his arms. Like, I'm like, this is. Yeah. But the face was like, again, further away the first few times. What is that? The more I saw that face, the more, like, from the neck up, I'm like, okay, it's a makeup appliance and some greasy hair.
Yeah. The moment that I felt he was the most effective, there were two actually, and I don't even know if this was him. I think it might have been Anna or one of the other women, when Elise first shuts herself in her childhood bedroom and is looking around at things, and she's looking at her childhood stuff. I think she's smiling, and then she goes over to like the closet area and moves like to her right, and you see what looks like a figure behind her, whatever it was, whatever that was. Fuck me, fuck no. And then when she put the light on it, it was just a shirt. I was like, fuck you, movie.
Yeah,
that was really good.
But it's moving. It's
I know, and it did not look like the shirt at all. It looked, oh my God,
that
was terrifying.
Honestly, best part of the movie for me.
And the other thing that worked for me I know for sure it was the key fingers, was when Melissa's down there and it comes out of, I don't remember if it was the shadows or the corner or wherever it was, gets down on the floor on like all fours and starts doing that herky jerky kind of toward her. I don't like that. And sometimes I don't like it because it is a tad overdone, but it was very effective.
I mean,
for me, Eddie, in this sequence.
For the 21st century, for the first 2000 aughts or the noughts and the 2010s, you couldn't escape that.
Yeah, I know.
And also, 9 times out of 10, I don't find it effective. And it's because 9 times out of 10, it looks digital.
Sure. Yes.
It looks like an effect.
Sure.
So I don't care.
Oh, so you didn't care this time either?
No. Didn't work
on me. Man. Okay. No, it
never works on me.
I was just gonna like, that was one of those moments where it's just like, okay, I'm not gonna like have nightmares tonight, but I definitely wouldn't want that crawling toward me like that. Like she's given her all, like she's on the floor, like just and everything. and once he starts crawling toward her, the malice. I don't like. I started to feel maybe like a trace sense of like, because it was moving slowly. There's something about that confidence of like, or maybe even like a tentativeness of a demon or a spirit, like just kind of like taking its time. I find it so much more effective than the bum rush of the Bride in Black that we get in 2 and 3, or like that kind of thing. I mean, again, direct attacks can be very effective. Sometimes something running at you, can be really effective, but not in this franchise. And that's why probably also with this demon, I didn't have like that lipstick demon reveal moment. I was kind of waiting for like another, its own version certainly, but its own version of like that, and I can still see its face, clack 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 clack, look up, behind Josh's head. I still no, it works every time.
With I forget the character's name, but Spencer Locke, when she's at least is talking to the cop.
Imogen? Is that Imogen or?
Yes.
I can't remember which one's which.
She was Melissa.
Yes. Okay.
But they do the same kind of beat where she, looks down, looks back up, and Melissa's like, Meh!
Yeah.
And that was one of the only times where I went like, oh, you hit like an Insidious beat. Got it. But thankfully, that's a beat they haven't tried to hit each movie. So I was like, oh, he did it in 1, he did it in 4. I'm okay. I'm all right with that.
Yeah. And other little traces of things, like when she's moving through the space and the feet are there.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, was the silhouette really bothered me.
Yeah.
And then the night vision stuff where we pass by the feet, or where I'm like, there's a fucking body standing, and then later back and they're like, hey, at least go, there's a there's a person right in front of you.
Yes.
That shit really, and again, it's not jump scares, it's not loud editing. If anything, it's putting it on the front street of like the little boy just standing in the wall. Like, they don't try to be coy. They're like, there's a little person right there in the frame. And we're just staying with it, and we're unsettling you, and it works.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't have a lot of huge scares, but it has a few moments that just kind of got under my skin and were very effective. That made me go, And you know what? I appreciate the movies delivering that instead of just, fuck you, here's a bird flying by. Although,
yes,
this is the first movie, again, with James Wan and Leigh Whannell, and going, hey, we're not going to do fake out jump scares. And then this one, for the whole opening flashback, she goes down in the basement and she turns on the gas generator. It's like this loud jump scare, and I'm like, fuck you. Insidious 1, 2, and 3 didn't do this. And then later they do an establishing shot outside the house, and it's the big oil pump thing, and it's like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, oh, god damn it. Fucking Insidious never used to do dumb beginning of scene jump scares. This is pissing me off.
Oh, I didn't jump at either of those.
Oh, really?
And then, I really didn't.
And then there's a third one. They cut. They're gonna go into that, and then they cut to like a door either opening or closing really loudly. I'm like, bah. Thankfully, that was the last one.
Okay.
They did it 3 times. And I'm like, this franchise has never been about that, and I'm not happy about this.
Wow. I know. I didn't. None of them. Yeah. I don't have any recollection or of any kind of impact beyond just kind of like brutality. Look how loud the world is,
And my dog jumped, so fuck you. My dog jumped.
Well, I also have to say, I watched it with earbuds in. Maybe it's different when those booming sounds fill the room than when I got my
had
earbuds.
the surround on,
Okay, maybe that makes a difference. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to jump over to just a few little nitpicks.
Sure.
Nothing drastic here.
Okay.
No, a few little nitpicks for me. One, it's just it's a person. I hate that. I got to come up with a better term, because I do call it a cinema sin, even though I don't like YouTube's cinema sins. But I'm really over when full flashbacks end with someone waking up from a dream, and I'm like, I don't dream about memories. I don't know anyone who full blown has entire dreams of things that have happened to them. It's something that happens in movies, and it only happens in movies. And it wasn't just like one short scene. It was like, she comes home, she does this, she goes, talks to this, she goes to bed, and this happened, and like all these things happen, and she wakes up from it all. And I understand the language of cinema says that this is something that's haunting her, and it's also being triggered because something that's happening in the actual house.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I still don't appreciate. I'm done with memories as dreams. I I hate watching wake up from a memory.
Okay, didn't bother me at all. Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, no, I just because it doesn't happen, but at the same time, like I'm thinking like, but it's Elise. Like she's probably like barraged by significant moments from like her past all the time, particularly once we learn more about her past. But I don't know. Like somebody who's as hypersensitive, and also I haven't experienced that level of trauma, so I can't speak to.
That's something I was wondering about though.
Yeah, like
I've had somewhat traumatic things where I have dreams that they aren't reliving it, but they will featured players. You know,
right,
they
be
will
in a
be like
situation
there will be
where
sequels to, but not the exact thing.
they're like, I'm always in a hallway and I'm always out running like these hands that are grabbing for, or something like that. Like, or I'm
Oh yeah.
always,
No,
or
but
I'm
I'm talking
always
about
like,
actually like a specific thing that will involve a specific person, a specific tragedy.
no. That's
And
what I
then,
mean.
yeah,
Yeah, not getting too specific because
right.
yeah.
Another just a little nitpick. It's more tee-hee for me, but whatever. Is that they say this takes place in 2010, which is the year that Insidious came out. It's implied that Insidious took place in 2010.
Sure.
Great. So we're catching up to Insidious 1. 3 took place a few years before the Lamberts.
Yeah.
A few to me means 3 or 4.
Yeah.
If
More than
kind.
2. More than 2.
Because we use a couple for 2. So I always, a few means 3 to me. Well, Tucker has a mohawk and shaved in only about 3 years prior. So in this one, he's got this massive long head of hair. And I just thought, you wouldn't have grown all that out in this time. What? No. Especially since it was shaved at the last. No. And then I thought, well, maybe it's been longer. Or maybe it's been short. I don't know. But it's just so weird to go from shaved head and a mohawk to like
but
lion's mane of hair.
Wasn't Insidious 3 released in 2015 and this one was released in 2018? That's 3 years difference.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have that much hair.
But if he shot them 3 years apart.
Oh, wait. I don't believe that's fucking real either. Like,
oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not his real hair.
Oh, okay.
He's got to be wearing a wig in this movie, or at the very least extensions. Anyway.
Okay.
So I imagine like, okay, so there's got to be a longer passage of time for his hair to be that long.
Okay.
But then it makes me think, well, if it has been that long, at the end of the last movie, she goes, "We got to get you out of those outfits into something nicer."
Uh-huh.
And then it took all of these years for her to go, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to have you guys wear something else." I want, how have you, even if it's been 3 years later, like the gag is, let's get you out of those outfits. Don't say that line in the last movie and have it happen in this movie, or don't say the line in this movie and have them like it's, you know what I mean? They kind of fucked up the beat.
Well, see, I don't like that. I can't
tell you, Eddie.
Yeah.
I want you to wear a red shirt, and then 3 years later, I go, "Hey, let's have you wear the red shirt like you wear in the next movie." Like it's just sloppy.
I think I think we've actually had like brain fart moments where we forget things that we said like 3 years ago and say them again. But
Elise is so much better than that, Eddie. She
is, but the reason it doesn't bother me is because I hate that beat. We already discussed this.
Yeah.
I hate that beat in Insidious 3. So I felt like this was kind of a retcon. It's like, yeah, this is more what I wanted. Like, let me
I like that.
Let her introduce like, okay, but you guys have to get out of these clothes if we're gonna do business. I love the van. I love that you painted, and I love that you wrote, what is it that they wrote on the side? Spectral sightings. Yeah, on the side. And all of that. But you know what? And I'm glad that you're here. I'm really glad you're here. But you know what? I gotta say in like something that we do, and I've got the clothes here, boys. Put these on, kind of thing. So that didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it's a beat that works. I just wish they hadn't had the line in 3 because it doesn't work as good. Because that makes me feel like she forgot she said it 3 years ago.
I want to forget that she said it 3 years ago, so I embrace it.
Nice. Also, by the way, they pull up in that giant, shuttle bus or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, paid $700 for this thing and $200 for the guy to paint the thing on the side." Now I blurted out, "That's a good deal." Both of those, $200 for all that? 700, 900. That's a steal. I almost
Yeah.
don't believe this took place in 2010. Either that or that dude that you bought it from got ripped off. I will take that whole fucking party bus for $700. Shit.
Oh, how old does that make Elise? Because in 1953, that's where we open with the movie. I'm guessing how old?
I know Lin
about?
Shaye was 74 when she made this one,
Okay,
and so
so she'd be around her 70s, I guess. Like she'd probably be a little bit older than Lin Shaye is, because I don't know when Lin Shaye was born either. I didn't do any of that math.
Speaking of her age, though,
Yeah,
how neat that we have like a 4-film franchise that like becomes about a 74-year-old woman as like
I
lead, like
know.
your anchor of the franchise.
And I am screaming, just rooting
Like,
her
fuck
on.
yeah.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, especially, okay. Jumping to the climax, but just the fact that like, well, it's like it's locking off her scream and everything like that, and she's on the floor, like, and then she takes the thing and beats it, and then gets the whistle and blows the whistle and everything like that. But even before that, I just everything about that climax and about her kind of like not necessarily hulking out, but just kind of like standing in her power.
I
And
knew you were gonna
just
say in her power.
That is my favorite Elise. I mean, I think I love it juxtaposed against smiling, warm, open, daylight, open the door. Hi, I'm Elise. I love both, that both of them coexist with her, and that both of them seem so incredibly plausible, thanks to Lin Shaye's portrayal and her personalization, like her ability to just kind of like invite you in with her own energy. And so that big ass plus for me was just watching Elise once again just kind of take her stance and just kind of like say, I will not be afraid. Oh, because it's when she's, oh god, it's the Wonder Woman moment when she's like beating her father. And then is it Imogen who walks in and sees her and like just goes, Elise, and she kind of snaps her out of it, and then she turns to the demon and says like, what is it she says? I will not feed you with any more hatred, or something like that. And I'm not going to feed you with hatred anymore, demon. I just love her putting them in their place. And I like the fact that she's not incorruptible, but that I have faith that she's always going to. There's so little to have faith in this world, and she's somebody who I have faith in to just kind of like at least come back and take her stance. And I'm rooting around, just kind of like, no, Elise, come on, you're better than this. You're just going to become your father. That's what it's depending on, and that's not healthy for you. Like, I mean, on every level, I understand the inclination, but I'm not. I don't even want to see her hit him once, because that's probably her real father. While it's going on, I'm thinking that's probably your real father. That's not the man.
That's not a demon dressed up as your father.
Yeah, exactly. So all you're doing is piling not just hatred, but also violence on top of violence, and trauma on top of trauma. And he's just watching you, or just like kind of like the demon finger keys is the catalyst for, or key fingers, sorry.
Finger keys sounds like finger cuffs.
You're dating finger cuffs, you're dating finger keys. Ben Affleck is sitting with Joey Lauren Adams watching hockey, and he just goes, what's finger keys? Jesus Christ.
You went into the further to find finger keys, you silly son of a bitch.
Jesus, now I want that. You know what? Okay, that's a perfect gateway. I feel like I've said my piece for Elise Champion, yes. But because that's a great kind of like segue to a huge complaint I have about this movie. You just made me realize how much I would have preferred Jay and Silent Bob over Tucker and Specs in this movie. And not so much Tucker. Tucker has his little for me too, but I remember feeling this in the theater. This is one of the things I do remember. And when I watched it again, I was just trying to be open-minded, trying to be like, well, what did I see? What did I see really? And it bothered me even more this time, which was Specs and initially Tucker's kind of like aggressive,
Out of nowhere,
attempt
unwarranted.
to seduce their co-workers' nieces.
Who were clearly not in the appropriate age bracket for them. Not to say there has to be specific, I believe in May and December stuff, whatever, but like this just doesn't feel right.
And also, okay, this is the interesting thing, because I wanted to know, how old were those actresses? Because they look young.
Yes.
And I looked them up, and they're just actresses who look young and beautiful. Because Caitlin Gerard, who played Imogen, it was 30 when they shot this.
She does not look 30.
No, she does not. And Spencer Locke
from the Resident Evil movies. And
she was 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in her young 20s in Resident Evil 3. So
now, so that, and also if we're doing a time jump, like granted, these are men who are like now, like in their late 30s, early 40s, but they're playing that they were still like around the age group of like these women, doesn't make it less gross though.
Right. You're right. It has nothing to do with the age. So much
it
as
really
the approach.
doesn't. Yeah, the fact that it's so aggressive and it's so clumsy, and because I feel like it's done for a comedic beat,
and it's not fucking funny.
No, it is not. It wasn't funny in 2018 either. I was not laughing. I was very uncomfortable, and that's what I carried out of I mean, in addition to Lin Shaye and this wonderful story, you know, this arc that I remembered. I just remembered that it was Elise's arc. I also remembered I really didn't need that from these characters, especially one of the moments when they meet them for the first time, that was vomit. But when I felt it even more strongly later was when Elise has gone under, and Specs, he says like she's gone to the other side or something like that. And then, he says, Elise is on the other side. And then I just wrote, not a great moment for this gross attempt at comic relief, just because the heavies of this film are committing unspeakable acts against women doesn't make what Specs is doing any more acceptable. Your coworker has gone to the other side, and now you have to hypnotize this girl. You're talking about hypnotizing her, and you're touching her thigh or her knee. Fuck you, Specs. And Leigh Whannell, sorry, but fuck you for writing that for yourself. That's how I feel.
You know what's funny is that I blocked out after watching this movie yesterday that he touched her leg.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm remembering cringing when it happened, and then my brain must have shut it down within 24 hours. So I'm like, oh yeah. I remember him getting up when Tucker takes over, and like he's touching her back or something. I think they even say like, you don't have to fucking touch her.
Tucker says, keep your hands off the subject or whatever. Yeah.
You're right. The diner scene is terrible, and it's not funny. And also like, and not only is it not funny, but is it, if it's supposed to be relatable, it's not like, I don't just anything about like him going, well, I can be funny. If you have to explain that you're funny, guess what? You're not fucking funny. And I'm not laughing at you. And it's just bad. And I remember not having visited the sequels in a while.
Yeah.
That when I think of Insidious as a franchise, I remember going, Tucker and Specs, ew.
Yeah.
And I watched 1, and I'm like, well, I don't go ew. 2, I don't go ew. And I rewatched 3, and I'm like, why do I have this impression of ew? And then I watched 4, and I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And this wasn't in the other fucking movies.
No.
They weren't perps. Like Tucker out of nowhere is just like, I'm like, wait, what? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
No.
And
although it does give me, I do like when he's lingering with I think he's lingering with Spencer Locke, and she's like, Elise is like, come here, come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, there we go. That's what you need to do to him right now too.
But she shouldn't even have to do that, because it's like, it's complete. First of all, it's completely disrespectful to just women, any women that you do that to. But secondly, this is your coworker, and these are her nieces. She's meeting her estranged brother for the first time in decades, and there's something incredibly heavy and emotional has just happened. And your first impulse is to lean in for a kiss and a hug too. Okay, gross. But I feel like Specs compounds his sin a little later also when he's alone with Imogen, when they're supposed, well, I don't even remember what they're looking for, but they're looking for something. Maybe the keys? I don't remember. But they're looking for something. I was so derailed by the fact that he's sitting there and he's doing all that other kind of like pitch, trying to puff up and pitch himself like, I would be a real good, life mate for you, basically. And all that needed to happen was for him to do something remotely charming and for her to be even remotely enchanted by it. Just kind of like, but the way it was directed was that Imogen has her eye on the prize. She's like, we really need to find this thing. And she's saying it like someone who is doing exactly what I would want them to do in this situation. And just keeping her, like we had a bullseye, we got a hit. And, that's more the most important thing right now, more important than you like doing your little dance and everything like that. The fact that she's playing that makes me think he needs to stop. And what happens at the end of the movie?
He just puts his face on her face.
And she's even...
I was going to say, doesn't it look like the character goes, oh, like...
Yes!
It's not a willing participant.
There is no consent. And it is so cringeworthy. And you know what I love? That's what redeems Tucker for me in this movie, is the next moment he's leaning on the tray and he's going like, and I was like, oh, I don't remember this. And then he points to the Jell-O, to Melissa's Jell-O, goes, like, can I have? And she's just like, go for it. And I'm like, she gave the green light. Tucker needed the green light to take her Jell-O, but Specs did not need a green light to face plant on Imogen and kiss her and hold it when she gave no green light, no consent, no even like awareness that was happening. She got full on assaulted, and I'm angry. So that's all I have to say about that. Jesus.
I concur.
Okay, good.
And I hate to say it, but it almost feels like the intention was to make these guys all pervy so we can set up a punchline with this Jell-O gag at the end. And I'm like, was that all worth it?
I literally wrote, every other man in this story has a defense for their behavior except Specs. And that includes Garza, that includes the dad. I can't remember his name right now. He had a first name.
He did have a first name. It is Christian.
No, Christian was the brother.
Oh, that's what you mean, the dad, like
the dad. Elise's dad, Christian.
Gerald.
That was his name.
Gerald Rayner is what I have here.
Okay, cool. I don't remember anybody calling him Gerald.
And that
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right.
That actor's name is Josh Stewart, and I have to say I want to give him props because when he comes in to the further jail cell and takes his position. Yeah. I like that it didn't simply feel like he was being controlled by Keyface.
Yeah.
It also felt like he knows what this is and he has remorse and like, this is what I have to do right now.
Yeah.
What I have to take. I deserve this.
Yes.
Here it comes. I'm doing this there's no dialogue.
No.
And he shows up and really delivers.
Yes. Yes. Oh, also, I want to give a shout out to Kirk Acevedo, who played Garza.
Right.
Because, oh my God, okay. He had me from the introduction when he was like just telling them the background of the house. Because again, I forgot the big reveal about like what was actually going on in the basement with him. So when he was just kind of describing the room and talking about how he won't go in there and just recounting it, it had for me the same kind of like, I'm gonna use this word again, palpable, like almost undeniability. Like, this really happened to you. You're visibly shaken. And it reminded me of a similar response I had just in terms of Quinn's speech when she first meets Elise and sits down and recounts everything that happened to her mom. And I'm like, oh, you've been through some shit. Same thing with him. Just watching him in the space and the way he described it, I was just like, this guy's good. And I can't wait to see him because I haven't gotten to season 6 of Arrow yet. And apparently he's in it.
I was just
Yeah.
about to say, because when he generally does not play nice fellows.
Yeah.
And the second he showed up in this, I went, oh my God, this guy, fucking Ricardo Diaz from fucking Arrow. Oh my God.
I can't wait because he's good.
Yeah, he is good. But one of the things I appreciate, aside from seeing someone from the Arrowverse show up,
Yeah.
was it's just a little thing, but I appreciate when we allow we don't fall into tropes. We don't to have a character be scared,
Yeah.
to have someone call out to an old woman for help, to believe
Mhm.
that ghosts are real. Isn't, stereotypically, not like I agree, but isn't stereotypically, cinematically speaking, a very manly thing to do, quote unquote.
Right. Right.
So to have a guy who you could tell has like a build, and who has, for every role he's in, like a very heavy masculine intensity,
Yeah.
and be like, fuck, I bought this house and fucking this shit. Like,
Yeah.
I just appreciate having such a, pardon me, but having such a man
Yeah.
be this scared and to need her help.
I genuinely believe he
And
just wanted a little piece, that he just wanted to like carve out, like, well, I heard everybody said don't go there, and I was like, it's real cheap and I can make it work. Maybe I can't. I don't know.
I appreciate and believe that he's like, look, I sunk my
Yeah.
savings into this because it was a good deal, and I ignored this, and I'm paying the
Yes.
price. But like, I can't just up. I need your help because like my money's in this.
Yeah.
And like, as an adult who knows a little bit more about finance than I did,
Yes.
even just 5
Yes.
years ago, I'm like, oh, I get it, dude. This isn't that horror thing. Where you're like, well, we'll just move. Like, it's not that fucking easy.
Yeah.
It's not. So
No, it isn't.
so I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And also, I was pleasantly surprised because I completely forgot Spencer Locke was in this. And the second she showed up, I'm like, oh, it's Kmart. That's her name in the Resident Evil movies, because they found her in a Kmart.
Right.
And she's a charming little actress. And I forgot that she was in this. The only downbeat to anything involving Melissa and Imogen is that they show up for this diner scene, and then they get molested, and then their dad shows up.
Yes.
And then, like, I think Melissa wants to try to hang out. She talks to Elise a little bit.
Yeah. She's the sunny one.
She gets key fingered.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, like, Imogen's like, oh, by the way, I've got the power too. And then the very next thing, we're going to the further, I just thought, I don't feel like either of these two are characters. And it's not the fault of the actors so much as like, they had a couple pages here, they had a page here, and now the whole third act is hinging on Imogen going into the further. And I don't know her. I don't really know anything about her.
Okay.
I wish some foundation had been laid. So I was like, oh my God, I'm watching like Elise's niece go in and save her, and I have stakes and I care about her, but I don't know who she is. I know on paper she's her niece, and this should be more interesting. But I got all of like 2 minutes with her in this movie, and now the whole third act is her, and I'm a little not in it.
Really? Okay, because I don't know. I'm kind of a bitch for this because I I like family, and I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying like it's kind of my jam. Like all I have to kind of know is like, well, I got enough from the two of them to know like, okay, so Melissa's kind of like, the happy sunny one, and you're kind of like the more introverted, like, hey, what's up? Like, laid back at least, or maybe closed off one. And so the fact that she ends up being the one, that Melissa ends up being the one who like gets keyed, and I hate seeing light people be consumed by dark. And that, oh my God, her appearance in the interrogation room when Elise is seen, oh my God, I was just gonna like, oh my God, was that Melissa? And it was, but now I know. But fuck me, that feels like a legitimate like violation that cinematically I enjoy, but it affects me as I'm watching the movie. But the fact that like Imogen is the one who then has to kind of like step forward and come out of her shell a little bit and open up to Elise, and then the fact that she also is a traveler like Elise is, the fact that she talks about like like being going outside her body and flying around and everything like that, I'm just kind of like, holy shit, I love it when this shit is genetic. And I love when you get like the Wonder Twin powers in, and then the fact that like Elise gets abducted the way Dalton does, for me, I just felt like there was a parallel. The fact that Imogen now has to kind of like step up and probably do, I get an impression that she's kind of, like I said, laid back, kind of has like a really chill life and doesn't really open herself up too much. That's just an impression I get. So the fact that like now she has to kind of step up and move into this domain, I found kind of like a really interesting challenge for her, because I felt like I was learning about her as she moved through it. Not like handfuls.
I didn't get enough of her beforehand. That's like, it's neat that you found a way to connect to her and all that.
Yeah.
I just simply didn't get enough to connect.
Wow.
And even the scene where she kind of reveals like her power and explaining how I can fly, I went like, a lot of it was very, and this movie does it, and the third movie did it too. There's a lot of expository dialogue where it's the outline of what needs to be said in the scene, but they didn't write the dialogue. They didn't do another rewrite. They just did like exposition dump, blah, blah.
Okay.
And I didn't get enough of her. I didn't. Not enough ground was covered. Not enough track was laid.
Okay. I think I also appreciated the fact that like the introvert of the two was the one who had to step up and who had to like kind of like find her inner strength, just because so rarely do I see a female character, even like a final girl, who is this, who just seems, I don't know, everything about her idiosyncrasies and the characteristics of like just her, being, like I said, having the eye on the prize while Specs is trying to be all goopy with her upstairs and everything like that. And her just being like, listen, we have a job to do. And I'm just like, cool. Yeah, exactly. Things like that just had me on board with her.
Good actress.
Yeah.
And I actually found once I accepted like, oh, so we're following her now. Like, all right, cool. I just wish maybe she was more of a character leading up to this. Like literally more pages, more screen time. More time for me to get invested in what the fuck is happening here.
All we had to do was strip out all that spec stuff, and then it could have been.
Once she's in the further, I found her incredibly engaging to watch. I could have actually watched more of her and the dead girl kind of navigating the further and her telling her where to go. Okay. I'm like, they're both pretty good. Okay.
I have something just because you mentioned them.
Yeah.
Something about Anna when she's like leading her through the door and she says, I'm not going to go in there because if I do, he's just going to get me again or something like that. The way she says it was chilling to me just because it was so lucid, and it made me, it was the most lucid I've heard any of the other beings in the further. And that terrified me because it tells me she is completely cognizant of everything that has happened to her and completely cognizant of the fact that she is trapped. And it was new. It was something new for the franchise, and it totally worked for me because it was also just super sad.
It was. Yeah. I agree.
So I just want to throw that in.
And that also kind of ties in with the dad too a bit, how like he seems to know what he's in for.
Just worn out.
Yeah.
Time isn't even a thing anymore.
Speaking of that girl, that's so my experience of this was the first time I watched it, the twist with the girl in the basement, totally worked, right? So I'm watching it now, apparently only 4 years later. Again, like I could tell you like 2018.
Oh, no.
Sorry to bother you, like searching like some of my favorite movies of that year. I don't remember this movie coming out that long ago. Like we just watched Sorry to Bother You and searching not that long ago.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this now and I don't remember. I remember there was the guy with key fingers. I'm watching the beginning of the movie and I don't remember any of this. I'm like, cool. I like that I don't remember any of this.
Yeah. Yes.
And then about, I don't know, 15 minutes, like when they first meet up with, I don't know what his character's name is. I just keep wanting to call him Ricardo Diaz. But,
okay. Garza.
and he's showing him around the house, and I went, "Is this the movie where there's like a fucking ghost girl, but she's not really a ghost girl? Is this
Oh.
the movie? Like, I think behind that is this the room with the wall?"
Oh my god.
And then I went, "Yeah, it is." And I went, "No, no, it's not. Which one is that? What movie fucking is that?" And then the
Oh.
second they go into that room, I'm like, "It is the fucking movie with the girl." And so this time I'm like, "That girl's real. She's not a ghost." And she's like coming up. Oh, but man, the first time I saw that, I was like, "What? That's a good fucking twist." I forget, almost in a weird little way, like structurally, this movie reminds me a lot more of Insidious than some of the other ones. Like you said,
Yes.
like Dalton's Lost, you have to go into the further, and this one we have to go into the further.
Mhm.
But also that movie has the like, it's not your son that's possessed. Well, first of all, it's like we move, and that still doesn't fix it.
Yeah.
This one's like, oh no, it's a ghost. Then it's like, haha, it's not a ghost.
No, it's not.
There is a structural twist, but then there's also
Mhm.
like a secondary, which is
There are ghosts, though.
there are ghosts.
There was
Also, just
Mara.
like secondarily,
yeah.
it's not the house is haunted, it's your boy.
Yeah.
Also, like, it turns out your dad can do this, and here's why. Like,
Yes.
this movie has little mini twists after a big twist. And like, this is like a worthy sequel to Insidious as far as structure goes, as far as following the formula without following the same exact beats, but following the formula of where these beats happen.
Yeah, and even in a similar sense of like with the first Insidious movie, I remembered thinking, the astral projection and everything, like, oh cool, that's a new spin, because that's totally not what I thought was happening exactly, like, what the way they put it. But that's really, really interesting what they do with this. It's like, it was much, I will say that about this movie, it had me much more going, wait, what? In terms of like when Garza comes through with that gun after they find Mara behind the wall and everything, I was just like, what fucking movie am I watching? And then he's chasing Specs upstairs. That was really good too, actually. I really appreciate Specs turning off the lights, hiding strategically, looking through doors, doing everything he's supposed to be doing.
He leave his glasses?
I think so. Oh yeah, and he leaves them so the light will go up with a and everything.
Yeah.
And everything about the way that was structured, it worked for the suspense, but it also worked because I didn't know what movie I was watching anymore. I felt like, so are we completely abandoning like the ghost hunting thing, and is this just kind of going to be like on a very special episode of Insidious?
Yeah.
I loved it really. I had no idea what was happening, and I loved it.
I love that you start with one story, and then it actually kind of wraps up at the end of Act 1, and then it turns out, haha, we're going somewhere else. I appreciated that. Also, I'm glad you mentioned the whole Specs chase with Garza in the house.
Yeah,
because it's one of the few times in the movie where I literally I got yanked out of the fucking movie. Though he gets the drop on Garza. Garza's on the ground, and my thought is, oh, you got him. Now go get his gun.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to shoot him, but just point it at him. And instead he takes this giant bookshelf or chest.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, fuck, that looks heavy. And then as it falls, you see that it's lined up with his head.
Mm-hmm.
And it fucking obliterates him. And I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
What the fuck, Specs? Like, you could have just pointed the gun at him, shot him in the leg, but Jesus, he smited him.
But I see, and honestly enough, that was not that's not the most damnable offense that Specs committed for me.
No, but that hadn't happened yet, though.
No, that hadn't happened, but
good Lord,
it was interesting. I think that hadn't they already met they might
have gone to the diner already.
Yeah, they already met them, so already I'm like, gross. And I knew it was coming this time.
Sure.
Because I remember. But the thing about it was, for me, also, I mean, and I know this is a big issue with some people, like the taking of human lives and everything like that. And for me, sometimes I'm of two minds about it. Sometimes I'm kind of like, well, clearly this was the path. And for me, it's not so much two minds, it's just kind of like seeing the situation where someone who means you harm, who has literally been hunting you around, who is going to kill you if you give them even an inch. I feel like I kind of understand what would motivate that action. It's probably going to haunt you. He may even haunt you for the rest of your days. And that would be, you know what,
And-
that would be so interesting. I would love to see that if that guy came back at some point and found Specs. That would be amazing. Oh, I want that now.
Insidious 6. Yeah.
Yeah. But
And I'm all for, like, you know, if this man means to harm you and kill you, like, I get it.
Sure.
But again, like, his gun's right there. So
Yeah.
like you take that, it just, the weight of the kill didn't match the weight, like the gun matches the weight of what's happening. And had I been watching like a Texas Chainsaw movie and Specs had been tortured all night long and he is desperate, and all of a sudden there's this guy and he's, fuck you, and then I cheer because you smashed his head, but it just felt like he's been chasing around the house for a few minutes. So just get his gun and shoot him.
But he's also incapacitated his friends. Like, you're the only person, all of your friends, they're not running, you're not hearing them run around and everything.
The severity of that thing was a little more than I thought was needed for the scene.
But I was also kind of glad they dodged the filmic trope, because like my prediction was he was going to go for the gun and Garza was going to
instead he obliterates him.
No, and Garza was going to reach for it, and then there was going to be more of a struggle, and at least something else happened. I guess I am less bothered, I guess, by
I wouldn't say I was bothered so much as I just got taken the fuck out because it was shocking.
Okay.
And
okay.
It was like a 10 when like the rest of the scene felt like a 7. And I was like, oh fuck.
Okay. All it gave me was just a wow, Specs killed him. Like, wow. He dead now. Wow. I turned into Owen Wilson for one moment. Another thing, just kind of overall, I'd really love to revisit this movie at night, because I did watch it during the day. And even though I had all the mini blinds pulled down and, you know, none of the lights on, you still can't, there's the inevitable daylight kind of like streaming through, and you can see your reflection when a movie is very dark. I forgot how dimly lit this movie is almost in its entirety, except for maybe the daylight scenes. But when it is dark, it is motherfucking dark. I really want to watch it at night and just kind of like, I'm wondering if maybe the scares will feel a little bit more.
I watched them all at night, and you know,
okay.
I mean, I'm with you as far as the scenes that we liked, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll point out. Let me point out a few negatives before I end with some more positives.
Okay.
I have a couple of negatives.
Yeah.
One, I already kind of mentioned it, so I'm going to cross it off. But just the sheer level of expository dialogue that feels like expository dialogue, and specifically from adult Christian.
Oh, okay.
When he arrives and he's like, "Let me tell you the things that you did. Why I am like." Okay, got it. Like, you left and you did this to me, a boy, and I'm like, oh. Bruce Davidson. Like, I don't envy you coming to set and having to connect to this and make it work.
Right.
I would have a hard time. So yeah, I felt like his whole role was just to kind of over explain him and Elise and when she left as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just watched the actors and it just kind of felt like, well, this is a necessary, you know, we need to go through this. It needs to manifest somehow. It is, you know, kind of tropey, I guess. Even the music that was underscoring it felt, you know, kind of like melodramatic and whatever. I mean, not melodramatic, but I mean, you know, but just, let's just say dramatic, you know, just in a sense of heightened reality. And I was just kind of like, okay, and they're doing this like in a diner surrounded by people, but he's just that upset. I like Bruce Davis, and I'm not saying you don't.
I was so happy to see him show up.
Me too.
Anytime he shows up in anything, here's my reaction. Oh
yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna put this out there. They should have cast him as Carl.
Oh my god.
How cool would that have been, right?
Oh, why'd you do that?
I'm sorry. And no offense to the guy who plays Carl.
No, he's fine. I just
Bruce Davison. And the first thought was like, I would like to have seen you as Carl.
Of course, why'd you do that?
Would have played.
No, that would have been amazing. But that's the thing. He's so good at playing, at bringing whatever he needs to bring to a scene that, like, I mean, yeah, that's what it is. I'm just going to say the same thing over again. But yeah, I thought it was fine. Didn't bother me.
Okay, then my other nitpick. I was not on board for the needless connections to the franchise towards the end of the movie. I didn't need her to walk through the door and bump into Dalton.
No, I didn't need that either. Absolutely did not need that.
And it doesn't play. Like,
no,
doesn't work.
because that is a scare scene, and that is not. I mean, it doesn't play the way it does in Insidious 2 when they don't know what's happening. It is a
Right.
scare scene, but it's also a why does this keep happening? And then the second movie answers, this is why that kept happening, and that's actually interesting. This was
It's
much
a puzzle
more like,
piece that fits. And
by
this
the
one,
way, that was Elise behind the red door when he fell in the attic. Well, that doesn't make any sense because there was something else there.
yeah,
Why didn't Elise sense that there was something else? That I don't like it.
Yeah,
I agree with you with that. I didn't
Yeah.
need it at all.
not only did I not need it, it doesn't work.
No.
It's a double. And then also, yeah, and the same thing with you know, the very last scene, she's having the dream. And we had that shot of the window with the trees outside before in Insidious 1, but now in this time we have a dumb peekaboo.
Yeah.
And I hate Bagul peekaboos.
I know.
And, although I am happy to see the composer put on the makeup again and show
Yeah,
up.
right. It looked better than it did at the end of Insidious 3.
It did. It did look better. So now we've had 2 and 3 and 4 all tease lipstick face, and we never get lipstick face again. I hope to God he's in 5. Fucking come on.
But like in it. Not
in
just
it,
like,
for
hey,
real.
everybody, here I am.
Here I am composited into a shot.
Right.
You know. But it all felt just too much in too short amount of time of she has that thing. We know it's 2010. She wakes up and goes, Dalton. And then immediately gets a call from Lorraine. Hi, this is Lorraine. She goes, I need help with Dalton. And it just went like, it felt like fucking Red Dragon, where like you told this.
Oh, wait a minute. What is her name?
Oh, send her on day. Like, get the fuck out of here. And it's not as depressing. Like Red Dragon.
Yeah.
I say get the fuck out when it comes to that ending scene. I don't say get the fuck out with this, but it did feel like either unnecessary because I didn't need it, and it didn't make me go, oh, and now we're going into part 1. I don't have that reaction when I watch it, and I can't help if it's because I just simply don't need this, or if there's like a version of this where it doesn't happen in the span of like a minute and a half. If there's a way that the scene can play out differently, it just didn't work for me.
Honestly, all I can say back to that is I think it was overwritten. Honestly, all we needed was the phone to ring. I mean, she didn't even need to have a dream or anything, just
Correct.
but for the phone to ring, could have even been during the day. She could have been setting things up in the house, still kind of like, rebuilding her life in her home and everything. Answers the phone. Hi, Elise. You may not remember me, but this is Lorraine. You helped me with my son, Josh, a few years ago. I need your help again. Where are you? And then that's all we need. I don't even like, it's what I do. All this stuff. I mean, it was fun. Again, it didn't pull me out of the moment. It still kind of felt like a necessary evil. This moment needs to happen. I don't think it had to happen that way.
It's still better than the way the third movie ends. I'll say that. But yes, it didn't need to happen that way.
Yeah. Overwritten, just simple.
Yeah.
Cut
And also,
the credits.
And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Lorraine refer to Elise as like her friend? I get the impression they still stayed in touch, but the fact that it felt like you helped me out once, I'm like, wait, I thought they were still buds.
Yeah, that would have been...
Am I misremembering that, or did the movie fuck up?
I honestly can't remember. The two of them seemed familiar and comfortable enough around each other.
I wonder if after,
but we didn't really get that much insight. I don't know. She called her a friend,
right? I have to wonder if that's maybe just the way she worded it when you're introducing her to that. She goes, "Oh, this is my old friend," but they're not actually like buds this whole time. It's just something that you introduce her as.
But doesn't Elise say? I feel like there's got to be a line in there somewhere about something like your mother tells me. Like talks about you all the time or something like that.
They've stayed in touch is what I'm. Yeah.
So that would have been interesting if it just could have been like, Elise, or just like, hello, Elise, Lorraine, I need your help.
There you go.
End credits.
Yeah.
It's Josh. I need your. I need your help. It's Josh. Something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
So, yeah.
But okay.
But
Any other nitpicky for you?
no, I only have a few nice things. One of them is actually
cool.
back to what we were talking about before. It's just maybe like one more final thought, but it's just a cap to the whole idea of the franchise being led by Elise and how great that is as far as her age and everything.
Yeah.
But I also, while we were talking, I just also thought the fact that by making it PG-13, you also are inviting a younger audience to be able to watch it.
Mm.
And how neat it is to make a movie like when I grew up as a kid, like old people watched movies starring old people or
Yes.
shows, right? So like Father Dowling Mysteries, like he's an old man solving mysteries and old people watch it. And
Yeah.
that's the joke on The Simpsons is like grandpa's got to get home to watch Father Dowling.
Yeah.
This movie, all four of these movies don't feel like they're made for 70-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
cool is it that these PG-13 movies that are intended for youngsters, to a sense, I'm technically not a youngster, but you know what I mean, compared to a 70-year-old I am.
Compared to 70-year-old, yeah.
How nice is it that like the movie is being led by her, specifically not targeted,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
just thinking like Space Cowboys, where it's like, well, it's Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, and all these old men. Come on, old men.
Let's get the seniors in. Yeah.
Get seniors into the senior movie. And this is not a
Yeah.
senior movie. And I respect the shit out of it for that.
Yeah, me too. Also the fact that, I mean, there is a precedent set in terms of like just an open-mindedness to, I mean, like good for them. I criticize, I feel like with certainly all of these sequels, Leigh Whannell a great deal. But one thing that I have to credit him with is, particularly him, because he's a screenwriter, is just the fact that the connective tissue, there's a lot of connective tissue, but ultimately like the character we tend to follow and tend to cheer for is Elise, and it's kind of like aligns with characters for me. I mentioned Poltergeist before. In Poltergeist 2, I love Grandma. I love and in first Poltergeist, I love Tangina, and I love Beatrice Straight's part, and I mean, there is a precedent set for older characters to be the heroes or the heroines, and for no matter what age you are, like, but they know what's going on. They're awesome. Follow them. Everybody listen to the oldest woman in the room because she knows her shit. I love that there is a precedent for it, but that this one, like Tangina never really got to take the lead in any of her own Poltergeist movies,
right? The old grandma on Krampus.
Yeah.
Grandma Krampus knows exactly what's happening.
And even gets to stare Krampus in the face and, just kind of like meet her destiny, as it were.
But there is no Krampus sequel where she stars in Krampus 3 and 4.
Exactly. Well, I mean, unless she breaks out of that globe. Spoilers for Krampus.
Come on, Michael Dougherty. I need my Krampus 3 and 4.
But and there are other examples too, but I'm just not thinking about them right now. Sure. But every now and then there's like, an elder character that I am so grateful for anyone, any character from any walk of life to be able to kind of like take their moment and see the truth and lead people, even if it is for only like a small section of the movie. But yeah, I hope that Elise is not an anomaly as far as like the marketable popcorn horror movie franchise at large from here on out. I hope that there is just more I don't know, kind of like anti-ageist serums, you know what I mean, cinematically.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about that today at the time of this recording, because I think we're going to be posting it a few weeks from now, but I saw X, and this is the other end of the spectrum, but the threat comes from very elderly characters.
Yeah,
and I don't mean just like elderly, like in a ghostly way, because that's easy. It's like almost like slasher, like knives are held, damage is done by elderly characters, and I'm like, this is, how many times do I see this? Where they're not just like a creepy old person lingering somewhere and kind of being haunty. The effect is just, I'm old and creepy. Like, no, but like, actually getting out there and getting their fucking hands dirty. It's good shit.
I'm gonna zip my lip until we discuss that film.
Yeah.
But
I do want to
But
give also some credit to
yeah.
the girl who plays young Elise in the opening when her and Christian are young kids. This girl, it's not. We already talked about the scene with her and her mom, but what gets me is the sheer amount of terror she plays. Not just when her dad's beating her,
No.
but when he's like carrying her down
Yes.
the hall,
Yes.
and locking her in this fucking scary. I'm like, this girl. Who is this girl? Put her in more things. So much truth.
Yeah.
Just God, she has like 15 minutes of screen time.
Yeah. And it was also reminiscent.
Broke my heart.
Yes. And for me, I don't know if this is the case for everybody, but also just reminiscent of just kind of like that mode as a child that you only really go into as a child. Maybe if you're triggered by something later in adulthood, you can go back to it. But it seems very childlike, that kind of like locked body, standing position, pleading for something not to happen, and not taking any action to prevent it from happening because you're a child and you're the submissive party and the parent is the one who's in charge. And also the fear of like, if I retaliate, something worse might happen to me. But there's something very childlike to me that I just think about, just the standing there, just the Daddy, please forgive me, you know, kind of energy.
Yeah.
And also maybe the catatonia you go into, just being paralyzed from the fear that what is happening to you is happening to you, to the point where you're too young to even really process it. All you know is you're terrified and you don't want it to happen, so you're going to beg for it not to.
Yep.
And that's as much as you can really process.
And you're talking about the catatonia once she's there, and I'm also really connected to when he's literally got her.
Yes.
She's fighting against it. Oh my God. She's great.
Yeah.
Which also leads me to when we flash forward a few more years later,
the teenage Elise. Yeah.
But also we were talking about how there has like the big twist, but there's also like another twist, and that other twist that like that girl wasn't a fucking ghost.
Fuck me.
And that your dad was, and that's when you find out that your dad was also under the spell.
Yeah. Jesus.
That's a hell of a beat to then review. Like, again, I maybe I'm a little shitty about how expository some of the dialogue is. But there's Leigh Whannell. There's a lot of really good shit here as far as crafting a story. There are some scenes that feel like they're outlines more than full dialogue, but those scenes aside, this has a hell of a lot of good rug pulls and twists and clever ideas. And shocking. And it's not just a twist for twist's sake. It hurts you to find out that this girl is escaping and needs help. And it's not just the twist for twist's sake. It has emotional impact, which makes it even better. Bravo.
And that moment is so incredibly beyond poignant. It's almost, there's no other word I can think. It's almost pregnant with how much happens in it that I like. Like, I love the fact that Elise's defense, teenage Elise's defense, when her father is threatening, because he says like, you spent your whole life asking for it, or whatever it is, the line that he says. And her defense is to basically touch his head, X-Men style, and just show him his own demise. Fucking A. I was like, I didn't know you could do that. And it doesn't, it's out of left field, but it's not one of those out of left field things where I'm just kind of like, well, that's stupid. It's just kind of like, dude, you're like, you don't even know what she's capable of, because all you're doing is making her stifle it. And if you could, and she knows, because she's probably touched somebody on accident and probably saw them see their own demise while she saw it too, and went, oh fuck. But I don't need like for that seed to be planted earlier or anything like that. The fact that it just happens in that moment, it gives her. Also, I think what I get from it, pregnant. What I get from it is just this motivation, this inner motivation as an audience member that I feel compelled anytime anyone is beat down on, anytime, particularly a child, and there's a parent who is abusing, their position and really just like diminishing you know, this person, anytime the person who's being punched down on gets a power, the kind of power anyone in that position would crave, just to be able to defend themselves, to make it stop, it's totally satisfied that appetite that I had for that. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And then the line that he says as she's running away, finally running away from the house, and poor Christian is, you know, crying out for her, and she has to make a decision, and she makes the decision. But he says let her go. She needs to learn that nobody else could possibly love someone like her. Part of me just wanted, at least, because I knew she heard it. He was saying it loud enough, and she wasn't that far from the house yet, so I knew she heard it. So part of me just wanted to see her turn back and just go, "Fuck you," and just keep running. Fuck you, old man. Nobody could. Oh, I was just like, I just wanted to scream, flip him off and run. But
well, yeah, I always,
that's
presume, the dad's piece of shit, for all these other scenes. And then in that scene, you're like, what the fuck? But then once you find out he's under control of key fingers,
yeah.
I wonder how much of that is really coming from his own heart and how much of that is.
Oh no, I really believe it's key fingers. I want to call them finger keys now. But no, I really do believe that
got them locked in both ends like a pair of goddamn finger keys.
Jesus Christ.
And imagine like the dad on all fours,
Yeah, I know Elise Rayner. No, I mean I know Elise Rayner. No.
I should have drank water then.
I'm sorry.
So that's my fault. That's my fault.
Yes. There's only I only have a few more things. How about you?
I only have two more things.
Okay, cool. I think I have three. Yeah, I got, and they're small. They're not like big things that I need to dive into. Oh, and well, I don't even need to dive into that, but can I say one thing?
Yeah.
One thing I really actually chuckled at was back in 1953. Maybe I also just needed some relief because it was very traumatic, like watching her get dragged down there and scream, and then like when the mother starts hearing her and the whole house starts shaking and everything. Her father, or her father facsimile, is sitting there watching television, and he's watching an old Duck and Cover film, and it just made me think about South Park. They're just gonna like, well, it's 1953. Of course, it's gonna be all about Duck and Cover. But so I appreciated that. That made me chuckle. How about you?
I remember one little other nitpick.
Yeah. What is it?
There's something about the pacing and the beat of it all. But the climax of the movie, and I appreciate again that the mother shows up, blow the whistle, mom shows up.
Yeah.
I like where this is all going, right? And then I've seen the other movies where, like, you're alive and you have the power and they can Hadouken someone far away.
Yeah.
And Elise can, like step in and make the ground fall, and great.
Yeah.
But within just the momentum of the finale, I just thought maybe more was going to happen, but they really Hadouken fucking key fingers way the fuck into the distance. And I thought like they were going to come back or something, but then the scene was like treating it as if we got rid of them. And I went, oh, we got rid of, that was the end of key fingers or whatever. Like, oh, so we're at the end. I didn't know we were at the end. I thought that was just the beginning of something, or they were going to come back. And then as they got out of the further, I couldn't help but thinking like, is Key Fingers going to, like, this isn't over yet, right? Like, Key Fingers is going to return. Right. And then like, no, the movie was over. And I just thought that seemed awfully easy. It was just, an effect. They flew into the distance and then we're done. And I just went, oh, like that was it. That's all it took. That was it. We're doing that. Okay. I don't know. I just expected more.
Okay, I can understand that. It didn't occur to me, maybe just because I was riding the wave of the score, because the score was peaceful now, and it didn't feel like peaceful, like fake out. It felt like peaceful. It's over, and we just got to get back. We've got other. I was very much in the mentality of the party who was returning.
That's actually another thing that makes it like Insidious 1. Now that I think about it, because two, I want to say Victor Crane, but whatever Crane's mom, Parker Crane's mom, like. Exits the further. She is defeated. Mm-hmm. The third, the masky mask face man is defeated.
Yeah.
Keyfingers isn't fucking defeated. Keyfingers
No.
is still alive and active and out there.
Just like
Presumably,
Lipstick Demon.
why all the doors are able to be opened in the fucking sequels is because they never stopped him or defeated him or did, stopped him. But also, we talked about this in the first one, that like Lipstick Face Demon isn't defeated.
No.
And the Bride in Black wins. So in that same sense, we actually don't stop our bad guy in Insidious 1 or 4. Make it similar. But
yeah, that's why it didn't really bother me also, because I thought like maybe you just kind of alleviate the evil. And also actually the way you try when I asked you about Insidious 3, like what was that old man all about, and you explained it, and we arrived at something that I thought was very succinct, but like a nice kind of metaphor meets reality, or literal. But what I felt with this is that like it fed off hatred, not fear, and if it can't thrive off of your hatred, then maybe it starves and maybe needs to go like find hatred somewhere else, like a little,
I mean,
like
you're doing the work there, but yeah,
but like a roach scuttling underneath, like that makes some cover, and I need to go find a place where I can like lay my eggs. Like, I mean, she always calls them parasites, and this one was definitely a parasite, and I thought maybe it just, okay, well, fuck, you ruined my fun here, so I'm gonna go off to another hallway.
I mean,
I'm finger keys.
I do get I don't know if the full, I wouldn't call it like an overarching big bad, but I did get that sense that like the other villains of Insidious 1 and 2 would not have been able to reach the people they're trying to reach had their red doors not have been able to move. So in that sense, what I'm saying? Like this is like the next tier villain that
I do.
the boss villain.
Yeah.
I get a hint, but they don't beat you over the head with it. It's like, if you want to take it as that,
yeah,
you can say that this one is responsible for those without making it.
Yeah.
They don't go all Dalton with it.
No. But having forgotten so much of this movie, one thing I did forget, I mean, I did appreciate, I thought it was interesting kind of explaining the red doors for the first time and not just going like, no, that's just a thing that we designed that is in the franchise. No, but I mean,
it's
I don't
easily
know.
understood in 1 and 2 and 3 though. But yes.
But the fact that they acknowledge, the doors are always red. That's what, and so they mean something. So if you see a red door, that's what that means. I thought that was kind of, I don't know. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, nobody ever actually pointed out like the red door before. So I'm glad that they're seeing what we're seeing. It's not just kind of like, no, it's just the way the world works. But the thing that I was upset about with the whole unlocking thing, that I'm glad they didn't really kind of like, I don't know, double down or just like drive home for Elise, was the only reason she does what she does is because she feels guilt, because she's the reason. I thought that was so, if they were going to go in that direction, I was just like, I'm about to turn on you, movie, because her motive to help people just for the sake of helping them is enough for me. I don't need her to also suffer guilt because I unleashed all these demons, and that's why I have to go clean up my own mess. Like, she's not a cowboy. She's not, she's not, I don't need that. That's not who Elise is. That wasn't her story. I never got a sense that was her story in the beginning. And if it were, why would she be so bright and happy every time she meets people?
Right.
So that's not her. She's not Batman, but she's not
and
haunted
also
by things like that.
It would be so dumb and prequely if there was like some scene where or a series of scenes where you see like Keyfingers go up to the attic and open red-faced demons like, and then we goes into Josh's basement and set it all up. I'm actually kind of happy that even though it's a prequel, they resisted the urge, I think, to do a lot of dumb shit like that. Like, they never go like, well, this is where Elise got her mask and learned to like talk through, like, they don't do all that shit. Like, good job for that.
It avoided a lot more pitfalls than 3 did. Definitely. Yeah. I agree with that.
And although it does drive home the whole like and albeit in a slightly expository dialogue, but where she's like, I realize I'm not afraid of dying so much as I was dying without having a family, but now I have family now. I'm just like, whatever, you know what, fuck it. It's a little on the nose, but she sells it.
She does.
She does. It's sweet. But in the hands of others, I would have really rolled my eyes at that moment. Because I want the scene to convey that without saying it, please.
But also it's the difference between casting an actor who is going to play a vivacious, vital character, and casting an actor who knows how to just access her own vitality and her own bright light, her own inner light, and let it just kind of shine out and just go, hi, so you know what? I feel good. And you're just like, you do, and so do I for you.
But it works though, because in saying that, I'm like, oh, but the next case you take is going to kill you. Like
totally, yeah. Like, well, but so enjoy yourself while you still can, Elise, because TikTok. But the only other things that I have to say is just a small thing. I love the bit at the door, I guess, when they're underneath, when because she and Tucker discover the door and she's like, oh, the keys, and she has to go run off and go find the keys. Well, he's left there.
Yeah.
And there's something about that. I wish they could have like maybe played with that a little bit more, but even just the tease of him alone down there, I was just kind of like, I do not envy you, Tucker, right now with your equipment. So it's even more ultra sensitive to like any vibrations or anything that goes on in that room. They could have really played with a scare there a little bit more, or even just like some more drawn out tension to make me go, oh, I don't want to be, because I don't want to be in Tucker's position. So make me not want to be there even more, like, so I have to say, this is the first time I really noticed something about Tucker that has been true for the entire franchise. It's a character trait about Tucker. I love the fact that he always acts like he's the star of the movie. And he is never the star of the movie. And I kind of hope he never is. I kind of hope, I don't mind him doing something noble, or, getting the upper hand here and there, or even just being empathetic and listening, being the one, to listen to Elise and just touch her shoulder when she needs to be comforted after her brother blows her off and everything. But he's always kind of taking the, like finding his light. And always. And even like, because even when he takes the little fan thing down off the wall and they're like looking in and they see the suitcase and everything, and he I think he put the flashlight in first, and then he pulls the thing out, and then she's like, well, I've got to go in there. He's like, wait. And he grabs the flashlight like he's going to go in, and it's not even done comedically, but then he just passes her the flashlight. He's like, okay, go ahead. And I'm like, that was subtle as fuck, and I'm here for it.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was such a good beat.
Yes,
the way he like rotates it into her, like,
yes. And last thing, this is probably the most predictable thing I can say.
You cried.
Yeah.
Fucking knew it.
I mean, her mom. And then because it was like, first off, the mom just coming back, I was just kind of like, yes, and then what got me was they're all walking back, and then I just see the mom's been tailing them, just making sure they get there safely. That's probably another reason why it didn't bother me that Finger Keys didn't come back, is because mom was there. She was, and he's fucking scared of mom.
Right.
Or, and he should be, because mom.
As long as you blow the whistle for her to show up. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I mean, just the fact that, I don't know, I love the fact that like mom comes back and that Gerald apologizes and even gets an opportunity to defend her, and I'm watching Elise kind of receive all this. And then what really, I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but what really got me was the hug, when her mom hugs her. Oh, that's real pain. That's like good pain, because it's healing, but there's also that I miss you, I miss this, and I'm so glad this is happening. Like, there's so much, just like, you can't, the more you try to articulate it, the cheaper you feel. It is just a beautiful moment, and it did not make me angry at myself after the fact, the way the mom coming back in Insidious 3 did. Because I already expressed like that one, afterwards I was taking a shower going, Hey, this time
I got manipulated.
Yeah, right. It worked, but I'm kind of upset about that. I'll have something to say to Leigh Whannell about that as I don't comb my hair, but or as I loofah my, I don't know. I don't have a loofah and I don't have a comb. Who am I kidding? But anyway, this time it worked, and I did not feel angry about it because mom got established early on. I was on mom's side because mom was on Elise's side. Mom will always be on Elise's side, and that needed to happen. Like without that, the movie might have just been interesting and okay, but that happened, and I was just kind of like, oh, I'm crying, and Elise, it's Elise because it's happening to Elise too. Like, and I love Elise. Elise deserves closure. Elise deserves to know her parents have her back, wherever they are. Oh, so good. Hurts so good.
That reminds me, there's another thing in the franchise that's a constant.
Yeah.
Renee saying something's weird's going on, and Lorraine is like, I believe you.
Yep.
Quinn saying something's going on, and her dad's like, I believe you.
Yeah.
This is not a franchise where, like most movies, someone says something and then they get doubt and disbelief,
and only disbelief.
Yeah, and sometimes get thrown into an asylum or something, and
right,
or get locked into it. Yeah, like no, it's nice to see people get supportive for this sort of thing. I like
especially by family. Yeah,
that's believes people,
and especially by family, and then by like chosen family. Because Insidious 2, even like, Carl coming back with Tucker and Specs, and the fact that they're all like, okay, we're going to ambush him. Like, I mean, while Lorraine gets Renee and the kids, away safely so they can, have the house for what goes down is going to go down. Like it's a full, that's something I appreciate about that movie. I'm glad I can articulate that because I didn't think I could appreciate much about that movie. Yeah. But this one, I stand firm in my original kind of like resolve, which was I like it. It's not that scary, but I like it. Yeah.
I have one final thought, and it's a nice thing to say about it, which is I was thinking when Elise is getting beaten and her dad threw in there, but then it's not so much I thought of it then so much as when she gets the call and then she explains to Tucker and Spencer about the house, and I just thought, this is so much better. I hate to lower one to raise another, but this is so much better than like Insidious 2, where they're like, I don't know, she makes him wear a dress and then she hits him. Like trauma, like he's a kid and he had traumatic upbringing, so there's a serial killer. Look, here's the mom. She yells and slaps. And you go, it's a lot to unpack, but you're writing it in crayon, and it's kind of disrespectful way to handle trauma and child abuse. And at least this movie doesn't write it in crayon, and we see its effect on Elise. And it's not depicted in a cheap way, and it has weight when it's depicted, and it has considerable weight when she's confronting it. And the whole third act is her and her father and moving on. And I went, oh my God, this is what I don't want this for the Bride in Black, but like, this is how you handle child abuse and trauma in a movie that doesn't feel cheap or exploitative. Good job, Insidious 4. Good job.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I have anything to add to that, except I think I already mentioned it in the Insidious 2 pod, but on top of like the trauma you're describing and just the way it was written in crayon and the way it's just kind of like generic because things, it's like, and then when the trauma is extended to another family, when Renee's baby gets slapped behind a locked door and she does nothing because her husband tells her, I've seen these things. And the only way that they stick around is if you keep like, inviting them or whatever. We just have to pretend they're not there. And it's like, and I think I did make this point. I didn't invite anything. You should be freaking out that our baby got slapped and the door was locked. And I'm I'm taking the kids. I'm leaving. I'm gonna reinforce that trope. You'll find me at my mother's, or whatever. Like,
but that would mean that they had to have booked and rented like a third house to film in. And like in 2010, I don't know if Blumhouse was ready for that yet.
I don't know if Insidious Chapter 2 had a bigger budget than Insidious 1. I don't know. Yeah, it was.
But yeah,
fun stuff.
good times. I'm
Yeah.
glad we went down this rabbit hole again, because I was like, there's a reason why I bought Insidious 4, and I know why now. It's good time. It's good.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
terribly scary,
No.
but a solid number 4 in a genre where like you keep adding numbers. And
yeah, it occurred to me while I was watching it. It's just kind of like, it's kind of like the farewell to the flesh of the franchise for me. Like, great story. As far as like what it offers is development, of the characters you already know. Like, okay, I can take that. That's at least kind of interesting. But, and there is a but, like, I'm not by it.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, farewell to the flesh.
Of this franchise, I'm not equating the two movies. This is, I think I'd rather watch this than Farewell to the Flesh, but
I would too.
Yeah,
different energies though. But
yes. I just mean within a franchise that's what I think. That's what this particular chapter is.
We'll see, because we have a 5th one this year, and I'm sure much later in the year we will do a 5th video.
Mm-hmm.
But again, while not every entry soars, to me, no entry purely stinks.
Mm-hmm.
This is a pretty good franchise, so I hope 5 doesn't fuck it up.
I mean,
you just got to be a little bit better than 2. That's all you got to do.
It could be a marked ones, but it could also be. I mean, I like marked ones.
Yeah,
so,
I like it. You like it way more than me, but I like it. Okay. I just don't think marked ones is that scary. But I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's amazing and scary. But what's a bad 5? The problem is I'm a fan of the 5th movie in most franchises.
You like Nightmare on Elm Street 5?
Yeah, I like Halloween 5. I like Friday the 13th 5 completely unironically.
Oh yeah, Friday the 13th 5 is fun.
But I love Seed of Chucky.
Yeah, it's great.
I did think about a franchise somewhat recently, like maybe within the past year, where I was just kind of like, oh yeah, that one kind of sucked, and I don't remember what it is now.
Well, I haven't seen Leprechaun in the
No, I don't think I have. I can't remember if I have, and I haven't seen Hellraiser 5.
I haven't seen any of them beyond 4, and I don't fucking want to.
But there was something, and I'll figure it out, and then maybe we'll do a
Saw 5. Saw 5's.
Ooh,
I like Saw 5.
It's not my favorite.
Yeah,
you do.
I found more value in 5 than you did.
You definitely did. That might be a good example. It could be either a marked ones or a Saw 5. Well, but Saw 5 still wasn't bottom. I don't think when we ranked them. I'm
trying to stick to just horror, because I could say, it's like Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach.
I'm trying to think. I'm looking at my collection here, and I'm like, what 5 might I not like?
Because we like Final Destination 5. I like the Forever Purge.
Yeah,
actually a lot of pretty good 5s.
Yeah, exactly. That's my defensive 5. But there was one that I came up with where it's just kind of like, accept that one, and I don't remember what it was. So
I haven't seen The Wrong Turns.
Oh, that's a good example. I've seen certainly the first one. I've certainly seen the first 5 and 5, 4 and 5 and 3 even. Jesus. 2, like, we're never doing a pod on them, so I can just say it in closing. But 2 gets a lot of shit, but at least the shockery is consistent. Like, it's gross and it's kind of hard to watch, but at least it's like hard to watch for all the same reasons. I like it better than the first one. The first one just kind of like,
oh really?
Yeah, I do. I think it's more inventive than the first one.
And I'm not also like hardcore about 1. I'm just surprised.
No,
the sequel was better, but
yeah, one's.
But there are. I mean, again, the 6th and 7th Child's Play movies are fucking great, and they're straight to DVD sequels.
Yeah,
and they're considerably better than like 3 and the seventh one's your second favorite, so, or your favorite.
The seventh one is my
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah, that's my fave. That's my baby.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be back for
Anyway.
5. We'll be back for something else later. I don't fucking know what. But we'll be back. So thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Bye.